Alrighty,
Helps when
so
you're smarter than
Oh,
the...
Aspen.
very assertive, which is probably what's getting her in trouble.
Aspen.
Female?
Female. Yeah.
So if you're walking and you see a dog on the street, is there any barking?
There used to be really bad. We've managed to train her out of about 75 to 80% of that.
Okay.
If a dog barks at her or comes at her even from across the street, forget it.
Sure.
You know, she'll react badly. But her responsiveness to that used to be every single dog wherever she saw anywhere. Now it's every single dog that walks in front of our house when she's in the front window. But it is only about maybe 2 out of 10 dogs or 1 out of 10 dogs if we're walking away from the house.
Okay. Is this a new dog then?
No, she's 7. We've had her 7 months.
7 months. Okay.
Yes.
The behaviors that you were seeing, was that the moment you brought her home, or was there
Yes.
like a grace period where she was fine and then you noticed?
No, it was with other dogs. It was from the minute we got her,
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they?
and they've gotten worse since she's got into our house, around our house.
Okay.
Yeah.
From a rescue, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And she was a stray before the rescue.
Okay.
And she's got scars and stuff all over her. I would imagine she had to fight for her food.
Did they say anything about like at the rescue if she was with other dogs or anything like that?
They didn't tell us any problems with other dogs at the rescue. And when we went over there, we only went like once, but they would let her out and there would be other dogs around and there wasn't any problem.
I asked about dog aggression when we were there, and they said they didn't see any signs of dog aggression.
Okay.
So either they didn't see them, or
We saw it
they
immediately.
lied.
We saw it
Reasoning
immediately.
behind what you're seeing, so I'm not surprised. I don't think that they were being dishonest, although it does come up, unfortunately, in the rescue world.
Aspen.
Because they're really wanting to get those dogs homes and then help the next
Yeah.
batch of dogs, or what have you.
Other than that, she's a great, you look, I've seen people that need to be killed more than this animal.
Sure, yeah. I mean, people know better, right? Mix.
Supposedly, yeah, all pit bull, pit bull, but they don't know. No one knows anything about her.
Sure. I mean, I definitely see some pity.
Yeah.
I feel like I see some, I guess not. I want to say mastiffs are huge dogs, but like just like the way the mouth is shaped and the ear coloring and stuff like that kind of reminds me of a mastiff a little bit. But definitely I see pit for sure. Maybe some hound. Maybe that's what I'm seeing more so.
The vet said definitely pit bull. Our vet's a pretty experienced vet. Have you, Pet Vets Animal Hospital, Yael Sedone in Oak Park? You don't know?
Because you guys came from Riverside.
Yeah, but we used to live in Oak Park and Forest Park.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
And we've had other dogs. I've had other dogs that my first dog was a husky, and she was a stray when I got her. The most docile creature anywhere. Go absolutely nuts about other dogs, but she never attacked. She never got away from me. This one got around me on the door.
Have you ever had a pit or pit mix before?
No.
No, first. What were your previous dogs?
Huskies.
Huskies?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just say one thing. It might help you. I believe in giving people the most information I have. They can discard it if they want to. Her initial problem, and even to now, is if she gets fixed on something. Show them the little tool I bought. If she gets fixated on something, it is virtually impossible to break it. So, I bought one of these just the other day because she had been getting a lot better and my guard went down. She had been getting a lot of better to the other day. But I bought one of these in just the low setting, not the 30,000, but the 25,000. It works. It works. Now, I don't know if she was going after another dog, if it would break that fixation. But if she starts to growl or whatever at another dog, you just hit the thing real quick, and she stops, and you move on your way.
What does it do?
It's a sonic thing.
Okay, so it makes a sound.
Yeah, it makes a sound.
Is it audible to the humans or just the dog?
There is one that's audible to humans, which she responds to most of the time in the house, but on fixation, probably not. And then there's a 25,000 kilohertz sound that I point the speakers away from her. And that she just, and then, she goes on about her business, but I can't trust it to work. I mean, she can't bite anything else. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble.
Oh, sure, I got you. I got you.
That's why we're here now.
Sure. And I'll talk about these tools too. That's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. But the tools that we use, like they have a tone function. We don't use the tone function.
Okay.
I'll get into that later. So you said the dog that she bit, she had escaped around you from the home?
Yeah, she had gotten, I was fixing the weather stripping in the home, and it was in front of our house, and she just dashed out, and she didn't just bite this dog, she was attacking the dog. I got her away from her.
Was there multiple punctures or anything?
Yeah, there was a big rip. I've been more cooperative than the people have. I offered to pay for their vets, and instead of calling me, you know, they called the police. Now I got all this bullshit I got to deal with. Yeah, there was a cut along her side. From what the sergeant said in the police neighborhood, she's going to be fine. There was, you know, she had a big gash across her side, and I guess she had some puncture wounds somewhere on her body. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's crazy that they won't accept I mean, you're taking accountability, which is good.
You know, look, it was an older lady, and she was upset. I sat her down on my doorstep. She called her. They know my name. They know my telephone number. They know where I live. Her daughter came out. I called them 2 hours later while they were at the vet's office because I was very concerned about the dog. And what do? They get back home and they call the cops. They're not going to get anywhere farther with the cops than what I was willing to do anyways. It just makes no sense. Now I'm down a couple $100 on a bullshit rabies visit at the vet. The dog doesn't have rabies because Cook County, you got to go to the vet twice. You know,
Did they make you quarantine or anything like that?
I'm quarantined at my house.
Okay.
But I told the sergeant, he knows our townhouse. We don't have a yard. We're going to take her out to go pee. Like,
I got you.
you know.
Yeah, chances are they're emotional, and they want the report probably behind closed doors from what I would expect, like trying to get the dog taken away or something like that. From previous experiences with like consultation and stuff like that, it takes a lot before they'll take a dog away.
I know.
It's usually a scare tactic.
Yeah.
And everybody's always paranoid about it. I'm like, there was a Conus Corso that was terrorizing the South Loop. Attacked one of my first clients actually that I trained like 13 years ago, 12 years ago. Ran across Grand Park, ran across Michigan, attacked my client's dog, right? And the owner, who was my client, said like, I'm not going to press any charges or whatever, like, but get this dog trained. He actually did reach out to book a consult, never followed up, and then was continuing to allow his Kane to be off leash in the South Loop, and like everybody was complaining. They were going to all the men. It took a lot of work before anybody did anything, and this dog had like went after multiple.
The funny thing is like some of these local suburbs, they don't understand what their authority is. Only the county, I believe, under the Animal Control Act can take any real action. And to put the dog down or take it away, they got to get a court order. They got to sue you. Now, the Village of Riverside says they can do it, and they can just come and pick the dog up if someone reports them. And, you know, I'm not going to because actually the cop didn't even give me a ticket for the dog biting. Because it was he gave me a ticket for the dog being off leash. So that was it. But he still had to report it to the county. So, and I know Cook County, they're so overwhelmed. It's almost impossible, really, and especially if it attacks another animal. It's got to attack a person badly a couple of times. And the local suburbs think they can do something, but they don't have kennels. They have to go through the county anyways. So I'm not too concerned about it. I just don't like how this, and it's off subject for today's reason, but it'll give you some context. I don't like how these people responded to it. I mean, but whatever. But that's why she's here. So maybe it happened for a reason. Who knows?
Shit happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I tell everybody.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, it's territorial behavior. The window barking that you're seeing is territorial behavior. Her escaping the home and then going after the other dog is territorial behavior. It's just part of what dogs do. The issue is you have a power breed. Okay, you have a pit.
Yeah.
And that's what extrapolates things. It makes it so much more work.
And so much, right. Everyone's, it's a pit bull. Oh my God. You know, yeah. And she is strong. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can see it. These guys have a lot of power. Even though she's like a small frame and stature, like they are built for power.
She's pulled me down on walks and dragged me 3 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm not a small person.
Well, look at the harness we got.
Yes, and that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
And again, I'll educate you on all this stuff. Because I'm the same way. I want you to have as much information as possible, and then you say Jesse's right for us, Jesse's not right for us. Okay. So normal dog behavior. Okay, but it's intensified partially by the breed. Okay.
Okay,
So
okay,
if
okay.
this dog was like a golden retriever, even a German Shepherd, which is another power breed, it's a completely different intensity than if we have a pit. And I have a pit myself. Okay.
Okay.
She's my right hand dog. She's 15 now, so she's retired. I used to help her help me socialize other aggressive dogs and things like that. Yep. And she's been through a lot of stuff. At 15 years old, that she's been retired for a few years. I'm like, you've done your work. You know, you get to enjoy your senior years, right? So, but you know, she is a powerful dog. She, to give you an idea, I'm her 4th owner. Okay, so when she left the breeder, this was back in Texas when I was down in Texas. At 2 months, she went through 3 different homes in 1 month, and I got her when she was 3 months.
Yeah.
Because she was just terrorizing all the homes, okay? And it wasn't because she was an aggressive dog, it wasn't because she was a bad dog, it's because she needed a certain personality type, someone who wasn't gonna be soft with her, someone who was gonna give her consequence if she got out of line, right? Which was me. So I got her through the 3rd owner, who the dad was a sheriff, the mom was a principal, and they worked all the time. And Lexi was terrorizing their daughter. Their daughter was like 12 or 13 years old, right? And she was just a puppy. But if the kid reacts incorrectly, it makes things worse. And that's what they were starting to see. Okay. So then they ended up surrendering her. They said, you know, we want to find her a home. Dog fighting is very big in Texas, so they didn't want to just give her to anybody. And I was like, I want this dog. So I took her, and she's been with me since. Okay. And like I said, with me, she's a great dog. She's helped me socialize a lot of aggressive dogs. She's helped me actually with people that were scared of dogs because she's so under, how would you say, my guidance. She's very docile, very calm. So people who are uncomfortable with dogs, they see her energy, and especially like with the pit, they're usually kind of taken back, and then it helps them kind of build that trust, you know?
Okay.
So, but she is definitely in the wrong hands. She would not be a good dog, so to speak. Okay? So, do you know what pits were bred for?
Some kind of work, I think. I don't know.
Terrier, right? So
Yeah,
there's the
yeah,
terrier
yeah,
part,
yeah.
hunting rodents and stuff like that. But they're also, you know where the term pit bull comes from?
No, I think it's part bulldog or something.
Well, they would fight in the pit,
Oh,
the
jeez.
dog fighting stuff. So they're bred to, if you look back, they're bred to love people, right? So that's why they used to call them the nanny dog. But they're also a line that was bred to fight in the pit. So that's where the term pit bull comes from, right? And they're bred for intensity, and they're bred to withstand pain. If that
Well,
makes
and
sense.
she does not have an off switch.
Yeah.
I've tried every bite like this, finger poke
Cesar
on,
Milan.
yeah, anything like to try anywhere on her body. When she's fixated on something, nothing works.
yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, no, she's fine. So that intensity can crop up in other areas. So if I have a fear aggressive pity, the intensity will fuel the fear, right? Or an anxious pity, the intensity fuels the anxiety. So they're that much more intense,
Okay.
or worse, so to speak. So like
Aspen?
a territorial German Shepherd versus like a territorial pity is 2 different animals. Okay, the pity's intensity is what makes them kind of worse, so to speak, than the German Shepherd. Okay, same thing like with Malinois. Malinois are meant to be super drivey. They're meant to work, right? So if you have a Malinois and like you have a dog that's like active, 2 different animals, because Malinois are just like they're like they call them like dogs on German Shepherds on crack, because they're just constantly on go.
Yeah.
Because they're bred.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
So I always want to make sure that people are aware of these things, because that's usually what works against them when they're trying to address the behavior. Okay, is they have to overcome the intensity, right? So if I have an owner that's very soft, very passive, and they have a very kind of assertive pity, I'm like, this is, for me, it's a personality mismatch, right? Now, sometimes people do step up to the plate and they'll follow through, they'll do all the work, whatever, and then we get a shift. But then there's other times where the owner is just too soft, you know, and they can do as much training as they want, but the dog will never take them serious.
That's what she's worried about with me. She's real strict with the dog, but I love the animals. I mean, she sleeps right next to my face on the pillow. So, you know, I'm not more lenient with the dog, but I think maybe the dog thinks she thinks I'm her buddy.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good way to describe it, right?
Well, he's literally said, I'm like, John, you have to correct her. And he's like, I don't want to be mean to the dog. I can't be mean to the dog. And I'm
Yeah.
like, look, I'm not being mean to the dog. I'm
No, no,
just
no.
trying to like
Correct.
correct the dog.
Yes. All right. So this is all good stuff. Okay.
Okay.
So what makes dog training complicated is that people get dogs for companionship a lot of the time. Right? And that's fine if you have the dog that just has no problems. But then if you have a dog that has issues. So the way I look at it is, you know, I have friends, I'm 37 now. I have friends that I've known since sophomore year of high school, right? Over 20 years. I don't tell them what to do, and they don't tell me what to do, right? We're friends. I own my own business. I have employees. I tell them what to do. They don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I have an employee here. She's been here for a couple of years. She comes here on her like vacation time from college, whatever. And I was covering for an employee, and she's like, "Hey, can you go grab so and so and so and so?" And she hands me the leash, and I look at the leash, and I look at her, and I go, "How about you go grab so and so and so and so?" And she's like, "Oh, sorry," and she just turned around and walked away, right? Because she has an assertive personality type, and she was used to working with the other employee who would allow her to give direction, right? Which is fine because she's a senior to that one particular employee.
Yep.
But she got too into habit. So then when I came to work with her and she tried to do the same thing, I said, that's not going to fly. I sign your check. You're going to go do what you just said you wanted me to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, if I'm a buddy to my employees, right, they're not going to take me as seriously. I have to be, I'm their employer. I'm their boss, right? And sometimes we have casual conversation. I had a casual conversation this morning with Nate about Halloween. I'm like, oh, did you do anything for Halloween? You know? We had a little chit chat, and I was like, all right, now I want you to go take out so-and-so and clean up the poop in the pen.
Yeah.
It happens because we're humans, but 99, 80% of the time, I'm the leader, and then there's 1 to 2% of the time where I'm having casual talk with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the authority relationship is a
Aspen.
very important one when we have a dog, okay? And I look at it as parent to child, because that's technically an authority relationship, right? I look at it as leader-follower. You can even think like cop-civilian, right? Anytime it's an authority type relationship, I look at the same thing for the dog. It's slower because it's the weekend. We have approximately about 25 dogs here. You wouldn't even know it, right? You're going to hear the occasional bark. It happens, but at some kennels, it's constant, nonstop
Oh
bark.
yeah, it's chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can have up to 70 dogs. It's still just as quiet, okay? And I have that
You got
quietness-
25 dogs here now?
Correct, yes. They're all behind that wall right there, and then our kennel room is right there.
Holy smokes.
So again, you don't know it
Yeah.
because there's a structure here.
There's a structure.
Yeah. So and we have dog reactive dogs, dog aggressive dogs, human reactive dogs, human aggressive dogs, and then the dogs that are just get along with everybody. Right? We have all the personality types. But it's quiet here because of the leadership that's provided. We correct the dogs if they get out of line, right? And then now that all the work's done, because I'm 5 years into this facility now,
Okay.
or owning a facility, because we were in Logan Square previously. Because people always ask, like, how do you get it so quiet now? I'm like, because when I first started my facility, my goal wasn't give me all the dogs. It was, I want to establish the structure, and I know it's going to be more work. I know business is going to be slow, but I'm going to be able to teach my employees and the dogs the structure more easily.
Yeah.
If I were to
Then
walk across the street at Canine, I could get it done, but the work that I have ahead of me is astronomical because I'm having to fix something.
Right.
And it's 50 dogs that I'm fixing. But when we first opened, we had like 3 dogs. I
Yeah.
was like, all right, this sucks money-wise,
Yeah.
but for the structure and the goal that I have in mind, this is more beneficial. So we started with those 3 dogs, and then they referred people, then it became 4, then it became 5. And now that the structure's established, we get a dog in, 49 dogs are already set in structure. Now the new dog, 1 dog just needs to learn the structure. But it becomes a feedback loop. If you bring a dog into chaos, the feedback loop you have is chaos. Right? But if you bring them to structure, they look around and they're like, wow, all these dogs are calm. And it kind of, it impacts them in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
not to say that they don't bark, that they don't get stressed. They do, but they're not being fed more stress due to the environment.
Yeah. Right. It's not throwing gas on the fire.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. So I always tell my clients, if I can do it with 50 dogs, 70 dogs, or what have you, you can do it with 1 dog. Yes. My wife's upstairs.
She hears and sees and everything. Yeah.
Right now, she's fine because a lot of dogs would be reacting to this. Right here, she's curious. Okay, she's not relaxed because she's still standing, but I'm not seeing the tail tucked. Her tail is straight down, right? But she's just curious to the sounds that she's hearing. Yesterday, I had Nikita doing a consultation, and it was the same thing, but very vigilant.
Yeah. Oh, Aspen.
She changes. Hey, knock it off.
Stop.
She changes with energy.
Sure.
So I was watching. She was laying beside me.
Stop.
Watching the Bears game last week, and I don't know
Stop.
if you're a football fan, but you probably saw like the Hail Mary that then they lost the game.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't. And then she just like just jumped on me, and
Not
then,
violent,
not
but yeah, it was,
violently
yeah.
attacking me, but like jumping on me, and just I couldn't get her off of me. You push her away, she comes right back. You push her away, she comes right back. And finally, I got off the couch and I
Aspen.
stood up so that I was bigger than her, and then she sat down and
Yeah,
then finally
a lot of
started
times we'll
to-
stand up and
to
I just
calm
point
down.
and I stare in her eyes, and then sooner or later she,
Chills.
yeah, this is it. When I stand up and I do this is it.
Yeah.
You know.
So like that quick motion that I gave, right?
Yeah.
Right away, she responded.
She responds,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Anytime there's like a change in energy like that, she's like right there.
So her and the Nikita I saw yesterday are similar in their interest, but the intensity is a little bit different. Where he was more kind of just all over the place.
Yeah.
And she's more at this moment subdued.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Is that that's a good sign? Do you see any?
I'm
Is
not
she
seeing any
see?
tension.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
She's
any tension.
fixable, right?
It depends.
Yeah.
You know, because and I don't like the word fix because you have a vehicle, right? You have
Yeah,
a car.
yeah.
Let's say you need a new muffler.
Yeah.
Go to the mechanic, right? Oh, you need a new muffler. They swap it out. Cars drive away. No problem, right? Dogs are not a machine where we just fix.
Yeah.
Right. They're living, breathing creatures that have emotional states, much like humans do, and it's the real answer is, are you being a good leader consistently?
Consistent. Okay.
And you're getting that in response.
So let me rephrase. With the proper, consistent instruction and oversight of this dog, will she be okay?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's going to be, how do you say?
Hiccups.
There's hiccups, but then also, how do you say? Shit happens.
Yeah.
You know, but what I try to do is I educate people. One, we have to get control of the dog. So there's dog training, we train the dog, and then there's handler training or human training, right? And it's a balance.
Yep.
And then also understanding dog behavior. Okay, so here's an example. Happens to also be a pity. Okay, this is actually my wife's cousin's dog, if I remember correctly. Their dog and the neighbor's dog used to play or did play all the time. Okay, they had play dates all the time. Then one day, the neighbor's dog escaped their yard, went into my client's yard, unknown to my client. They opened the front door to let their dog to go potty. What do you think happened?
That dog ran inside and bit someone.
No.
Nope.
The other dog ran out and attacked.
Yes. Okay. Attacked the dog they had played with thousands of times.
Oh, because it was in his yard or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the owners freaked out, okay? Then we had another scenario, same dog. The father of the wife parked in the back garage, came in from the back garage door into the yard, was going to go to the front, almost the exact same situation. Let the dog out to go potty. Guess what happened?
Dog went after the human.
Yep, bit the dad, right? So that's when they reached out. They told me what happened, and I go, all of that makes sense. And they go, and I don't think your dog is aggressive, but I think your dog will protect the home if she feels there's a threat. I was like, because you have to understand, think of it as you woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and your best friend is standing in your living room, and you're going, how the hell did you get in here? Right? It's your best friend.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing in my house?
Yeah.
Right? You're right away going to go into suspicion. As a human, you would probably say, what the hell are you doing in my house? But dogs are primal. Dogs don't have, let's call 911. Right? Dog goes,
I'm going to get it.
yeah, we're buddies, but you're on our property.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing with the dad or the grandpa. She ran out. She had met him several times. She loves people, right? But he surprised her. But she ran out. So she's just in this mindset of like, okay, this is completely out the norm. Because typically grandpa would walk into the front door and then we would meet, right? Because mom and dad would open the door, invite grandpa in. But instead, she was going into the yard. He happened to be entering the yard, and she's like, hey, this is out of the ordinary. Okay. I had another example. It was a Yorkie, 5-pound Yorkie. They had it for like 3 years, never bit anybody. Okay, a little yappy, but never bit anybody. One day bites the aunt. Okay, so the first question out of my mouth was, when your aunt walked into the home, did she walk in unannounced? And they said yes. And I said, is this the first time she's ever done this? And she said, yes. I go, that's why your dog bit your aunt. Okay, because your dog is used to you opening the door, allowing the person in, right? But the aunt just happened to walk in because they had a baby, they were in the changing room.
Aspen.
So they left the front door open for the aunt, and because she walked in unannounced, and the dog's like, this has never happened before.
Right. I'm freaking out.
Yes,
Right?
and I said, think about it, if your dog had bitten a burglar or someone of ill intent, we would not be having this conversation.
Right.
Okay, so that situation is the same thing that happened with your dog. Okay, your dog is already territorial over the home. I know that because of the barking at the window and everything like that, right? Door happened to be open or what have you. The dog was out, just all the wrong things at the right time, so to speak. Okay, this is not the first time I've heard a story like this. Obviously, it's not going to be the last time. Okay, so me as a dog trainer, I evaluate the situation and I go, it sucks. I don't really hold it against the dog because it's just a dog doing what a dog does.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
People go like, oh, your dog's aggressive, this and that. I'm like, I'm sorry, it was all the wrong things at the right time. But once you understand dog behavior, it's like, it's not really the dog's fault. This here is a dog bite. This is 10 stitches. Okay, it's from a Great Dane. Which people always are surprised because people, oh, gentle time, giant, whatever. Never been anybody, has never been anybody since. Okay. What happened was he was here for a boarding train, and I was trying to load him into a kennel to see if he would fit because I hadn't had a dog that big before. It was at the very start of my facility. He freaked out. He bit me. So when I called my client to tell him, because I couldn't, my nerves were hanging out. Like I think it was bad.
Bad, yeah.
I was like, please pick up your dog. And they're like, because they paid me $5,000. And they're like, are we losing your money? Like, are you going to sue us? This and that. I go, nope. I was like, this is, your dog freaked out. And I asked them, had he ever been in the kennel before? And they said no. I'm like, that's why. I was like, it's unfortunate. I couldn't escape the bite because the dog's head is like right here, you know. But I told him, your dog is not aggressive. Your dog just panicked.
Yeah.
And it's a massive dog. And that's why, you know, we're here. He came back after I healed up. I trained him. Still comes to daycare. Still comes to boarding. No problems ever. Okay. So, but because I understand why that happened, I'm not going, oh, your dog's aggressive, this and that. I'm keeping your money and go train your dog somewhere else because that does happen.
Yeah.
But that's why I do my best to educate you, because the more educated you are on your dog's behavior, you're able to avoid things. You can kind of predict things, so to speak. Like there's a lot of things that I'll tell my staff, like not to, like we have a dog right now. I said, don't handle this dog because I'm predicting if you handle the dog, you're going to get bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Until I get the dog far enough, and then I go, okay. And then I supervise them a number of times, and I go, okay, we're in the clear. But if this dog ever does X, Y, Z, just leave the dog alone. I'll come back and I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, in our neighborhood, I'll tell you straight up, you got to do the thinking for everyone. Okay, first of all, there's like 5 dogs in every house, it seems like. I've never seen a more busy neighborhood with dogs, but some of these people, you know, there's this one guy, he's got 2 kids, he's got the dog, he's got the mother-in-law, he's got headphones on, and he's jerking around with his phone, and he will walk right up behind a dog that's going poop or whatever and not even think about it. And the dog gets startled. You know, it's like, are you stupid? You know, are you stupid? You know, or you'll have like, you know, we have all these goofy roads. And this one time, you know, this lady was walking, you know, she moved out. I'll always move to the other side of the street. A lot of people are good that way, but she moved out to the curb and she was getting a little bit upset. And I'm just holding her and she's fine. You know, this was earlier on in the relationship. And what happens is another guy sees this. I'm concentrating her on the other dog. Another guy sees it. He's like, and he comes right by with his dog. It's like,
I know what you're talking about.
you know, would you grow a brain already?
Yeah.
You know, it's
It happens a lot.
yeah.
But we have to train around that,
Right,
John.
I get that.
because
I get that. I'm
people
not, you know, I'm just
don't
saying
think
we
about those
have to
things,
be
or their dog
even
is one
more
of those
vigilant.
dogs that gets along with everybody.
Yes.
Right. So we have to train around that, and we have to correct.
So I with the training that I offer, I tell people I'm training you to adapt to your environment. Adaptation is like one of the greatest skills that you can have. And that's what allows me to train any dog. There's not a dog that I've not been able to train in 15 years. Okay? As long as the owner goes, Jesse, do what you need to do, I go, thank you, I don't gotta worry about anything. Right? But the moment they start going, well, I don't want to use a muzzle, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, now they're limiting what I have accessible to me. And at some point I go like, well, if you don't want to use X, Y, Z, then I can't help you.
Right.
Because we may need X, Y, Z in
Right.
order to get to the result that we're looking for.
Yeah.
You know? The other thing is advocating for your dog, right? Like I've had to tell people, you know, to fuck off a number of times.
Yeah.
Because people unfortunately will ignore my dog's not friendly. Right? For whatever reason, people will ignore my dog's not friendly. What I have learned, and just this little pro tip for you, people will ignore my dog's not friendly, but 90% of the time they'll respect, we're training right now, we're not ready.
Okay.
Whatever reason, people
Right.
will respect, we're training right now, we're not ready. But if you go, my dog's not friendly, they'll go, oh, but my dog's friendly. There's never been a dog that's not like my dog, right?
Yeah.
But
And they may be telling the truth.
you know, people will ignore not friendly, but for whatever reason, if you say we're training, people just will go, oh, okay. You know, it can still fail, but you'll have a much higher success rate. Okay. I've learned to just be curt with people. Because they ignore polite, because they ignore my dog's not friendly. And usually when you're curt, they're like, it takes them off guard because they're like, quote unquote, being an asshole.
Yeah.
But then I tell my client, like, but they don't understand what you're dealing with.
Right.
So I'd rather just cut the tie right now. You're never going to see them again anyways. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? Because unfortunately, I've had where people bypass the client. A fight happens.
Yeah.
And then the person who brought the dog in,
Is
like
the
what
one-
you said,
yeah.
is the one getting upset.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I get it.
So, I've been doing this for 15 years. It's like, people wonder why I am the way I am, and I go, it's because of all the stuff that I hear and the stuff that I myself have experienced.
By the way, where'd you steal those sewer covers from?
When we bought the building, they came with that.
I grew up in the ghetto, and the guys used to steal the sewer covers
really?
because they didn't have money to make. They'd use them on the barbells for weight.
Oh, really? Yeah. No.
Stealing the sewer covers is cheaper than buying it.
Too, just like randomly in the back lot, so we got it from somewhere. But is that all making sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me.
So you were talking about corrections earlier, and you made a motion like this, right? So you guys watch Cesar Milan?
She does a lot, yes.
I watched a lot of that. There was the British lady back when we got our
Victoria's
first
still on.
dog. Yeah, like It's Me or the Dog. So I watched, because when we got our other dog, she was a Husky Shepherd mix. And she was a big dog. I didn't know what to do with the dog.
Sure.
I was terrified. And he was like, oh yeah, she's great. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this dog. So
Yeah, I was used to
read all of
Huskies.
these books and I watched all the TV shows and I'm like, okay, well, let me see, like if I touch the dog when she's doing something, it should snap her out of it. And so it worked with our other dog. Like even
Stop
on
it.
a walk, if she saw something, she was tall, I could just like take my knee and pop her right in the side, just gently, and she, oh, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So with this dog, I was like, oh, it's okay. Look, I have a basic idea of what I think I need to do with this dog. So, you tried the touch and then you tried a different spot. You tried the neck, you tried behind the shoulder, you tried the bottom. And I'm like, okay, well, 2 fingers doesn't work. So more like a dog, like the bite, like you're stepping out of line. That's not, I don't agree with that, right? And so then I would try that and like nothing phases this dog.
Excuse me 1 second.
Sure.
Like nothing. Hey,
Can I unlock this? I just want to see if my car's getting a ticket. Well, I can
Should
actually.
be getting a ticket. This is all for
Well-
parking.
John, why don't you
Stop.
just take the keys and move?
So do you see this too, where he leaves, how she throws a fit?
Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
Aspen.
Not when I leave.
Aspen.
And when he comes back,
Come
I have a video because he thinks it's kind of funny, but it's not.
Aspen.
When he comes home, she is literally jumping all over him and running and jumping and running and jumping.
Happy. She's very happy when I come home.
Yeah, but with me, I don't let her jump on me from the get-go. I
See,
would
I don't know what this is.
I would hold her.
Anxiety.
Okay.
I would hold her down. I would do whatever. So now when she sees me, she has to go get a toy. She has to put something in her mouth. And she'll run and she'll get a toy, and then she'll come back over, and then she won't jump on me. But the other reason why I did that, when we first got her, she was just a year old, and she was mouthing. And so my arm fits perfectly in her mouth. So she would be excited, and she would not bite, but she would mouth me. And I'm like, yeah, no, there's not going to be any dog in my house that puts their mouth on me like that. It's not happening. So I started, when she would try to do that, I started doing a handoff with the toy.
Sure.
Like, you chew this, not my arm.
Correct, yeah.
And now you just say toy, and she goes and gets her toy.
And so now with me, she does that. But when I come home, she'll be excited. She'll start to jump. I'll turn my back on her and I'll walk away. And then she'll calm down. She'll go get a toy, and then, and then I'll greet her. But yeah, with him, when he leaves, she sits by the door, she stares, she runs around the house looking for him. She's like in a state of panic.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
So,
not good.
what we're gonna
She's
do,
like a wild boar.
I'm gonna have you take your leash and then clip it to her flat collar.
Okay.
And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna just kind of pull her to like your center here. You're gonna pull up on the collar. You're gonna push down on the hindquarters, and you're not gonna say the word sit. You just pull up and then press down. Pull straight up, so you're pulling back. Yeah, pull straight up and then press down. Try rotating her so she's like more kind of here, because you have it at an awkward angle. Yeah. There you go. Push down. There you go. Okay. Every time she gets upset, so bring her up in front of you. Yep. Pull. Now up and then down on the butt. Yep. Straight up. Good. Push. Push. Does it feel like she's putting her weight back against you?
Yeah, she's definitely fighting me.
Okay, so what you're gonna do is just pull her in front here, and then just relax right there, okay? Anytime she starts to get escalated, what you're gonna do is you're gonna just pull straight up, and then I'll let you know when to relax, okay?
Okay.
Because she's gonna keep fighting with her, you'll feel it, right? Because they're like pushing their butt back against you, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's just to help de-escalate her. So right now, when you walked away to check the door, that's what we call separation anxiety, okay?
Okay.
Separation anxiety, a lot of times we're like, oh, it's my dog, like they love me so much that they miss me and all that stuff. And I go, no, it's attachment. It's when a dog feels they own something. It's very unhealthy.
She used to be, okay, so when we first got her, and she has, we call it a house, it's a cage, when we first got her, she would whine and stuff and bark when we left. We could hear it in the back. That stopped after about 2 months. She's perfectly fine. She does not make a sound when either I leave by she travels sometimes. So whenever the house is left vacant by either myself, if she's not home, or we both leave, there is no more noise from her.
But that's when we put her in the kennel. What he's talking about is if I'm home and you leave to go to
Oh,
the
I know.
gym.
I just wanted to clarify. I wanted to extrapolate this. So there's separate. What I guess the message I'm trying to send is, yes, there's certainly separation anxiety, but since we've gotten her, like our huskies, I had them for years. They never stop that. At least mine didn't. The panicking when you leave. You don't hear any barking, any whining, anything when we leave.
But that's only if she's in her
But she does know if we're going to leave, because the dog understands exactly what you're going to do. We must broadcast it. And a lot of times I have to pick her up. If you can get her to go in the house by herself, sometimes I can, but she wants to play. If she knows I'm leaving, then I can't catch her. So what I'll do is I'll make her sit, I give her a treat, and then I just pick her up, and she's not at all upset at all, because I look in the mirror, and she's just laying there, and then I put her down, and I tap her in the butt, and she goes in her house, and then I hear nothing when I leave.
Okay.
So that's gotten a little bit better.
Sure.
Actually,
And
a lot
there's
better.
some dogs that can't handle being out the kennel. Like when you leave, like because people's goal is almost always like, I want my dog to be loose, roam or whatever. But there's some dogs that just can't handle it, and they just do better in the kennel. And I just tell the client, like, it's the emotional aspect, right? It's the owner, like, oh, I feel guilty, my dog's in the kennel. I'm like, dogs sleep 16, 20 hours a day. You're just, I would say confining the dog.
You're
for
giving
few
them a
hours.
den. You're giving
Exactly.
them a den, which is what they're used to.
Well, we couldn't have a dog, like if she does get upset, you come home, there wouldn't be no house left.
Yeah.
Yeah, the couch would be gone, everything would be gone,
no,
the
trust
wood
me,
would be
I've
gone,
seen
the
that
floor.
stuff. You don't want it. It's
Yeah.
I had a guy, his chocolate lab chewed up a $10,000 leather sectional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me.
And,
It tastes good too.
He hired me to train the dog, and he goes, Jesse, I want it so that he's like, I'm already ordered the replacement. I don't want to have to order another replacement. And then I told him, you're going to have to kennel this dog then, because I'm not going to guarantee you
Right.
that this
That'll
dog is not going to destroy something if left alone for 8 hours. Like the
Oh,
best bet is
yeah.
always kenneling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and he was like, okay, like he understood, but I was like, yeah, I was like, once a dog has learned a behavior, like you ever seen it where like they pull a thread out of something and the next thing you know they completely de-thread it? I was like, once they've learned how to do that, it's gonna keep happening unless you correct the behavior. But a lot of times this stuff happens when we're gone. So
Yeah.
how do you correct something when you're gone?
Right.
And that's what makes it more complicated. So before booking this, did you research on the methods that we use or the tools that we use for training?
You know, a lot of stuff you said made sense. So let me I won't say why I booked with you. I like some of the stuff you had to say. You said something about an e-collar.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty ignorant on that stuff. But you're the pro and I'm not. And it's a don't buy one. You got to buy the one that I tell you. But if we proceed forward this, I'd like you to look at this one that I kind of like, and then you tell me if it would be good or not. Okay. But you know, whatever has to. See, I know her fixation cannot be broken sometimes, and she cannot run out impervious to any instruction like the other day. So if whatever you have to use to help us with this, well, I knew this coming in the door, and yet I'm still sitting here. So does that answer your question?
Sure.
Okay.
So e-collar is more commonly known as the shock collar, right? Do you know where the term shock comes from?
It used to send an electric volt through their neck, didn't it, or something?
No, so shock comes from two places. One in the dog training world, there's a lot of drama, okay? From positive only trainers versus trainers like myself. I use everything. I use e-collar, prong collar, food, clicker, any tool that I have available that I think is humane, I'm gonna use, okay? But my primary tools are remote collar and prong collar.
She used to love the prong collars.
That's a great tool.
I never used it with my, the Husky didn't jack me around like it did to her, but she had great results with the prong collar.
Well, the dogs can pull me. There's a difference in size and strength, right?
Yeah.
And so the other dog would pull me all over the place because he wanted the dog in the harness, and I understand that. But finally, I was like, look, we got to get like one of these prong collars or whatever. And the first time she tried to take off and that thing tightened, and then she stopped and looked at me. I was like, that's right. Who's in charge now? I'm in charge.
We tried to use
I
it on hers,
tried-
but it didn't stop. We didn't want to
tried
get
that.
holes in her neck. That's why we don't use it on her.
I tried that with her because he was like, you're not going to be able to walk this dog. She's too strong. I says, look, I got this. Like we still have the pinch collar. So we adjusted it, made it fit. The problem was that she was so far ahead of me and it was always tight. I couldn't even do a correction to tighten and loosen because, and I mean, like she literally was pulling me down the street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll have to use the harness because at
Aspen.
least I can hold her back.
Sure.
With
Like
the
a little bit
harness?
more- I gotcha.
Yeah, but I don't like it because I don't have control of her head and that makes me nervous.
Yeah, we use this. We know they're not the best, but she'll choke the hell out of herself. So this, at least I can control her without harming the dog.
Yeah.
I know
it's
they're
one
not,
of the
you're
most
not
common
supposed,
things that I see.
you're not supposed to use these. We know that, but it works.
Yeah, I know. You're
you know?
kind of like rocking a hard place, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the dog training world, they use words like shock to
I'm sorry.
create the psychological thought process of like, I don't want to electrocute my dog, right? It's to deter you from seeking out trainers like myself that would use this like shock collar. Also, back when e-collars were first created, they had like 5 settings. Now we have 127 settings. Okay, 5 and 127 are the same in terms of intensity. It's just I have 122 more divisions now.
Right,
Whereas
okay.
before 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the jumps were drastic, so it was shocking. Okay, so that's where the term tends to come from.
Okay.
So have you ever been a chiropractor or physical therapist?
Yes, love
Have you
them.
ever-
Love them.
The TENS unit?
Big fan, yeah.
Yes, that's an e-collar.
Okay.
Okay, it's a
Yeah, that's what I read,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's electric, but not electricity. Okay, so electricity is like if you stick your finger into an outlet, right? Whereas with the remote
your way
collar,
through
or
it.
like drop a toaster in the tub, right? Whereas remote collar, like they're completely waterproof. Like you can go swimming, you could have the remote in your hand, nothing's gonna happen. The worst that can happen is if water does get into the charging port, is the collar could misfire,
Yeah.
where it'll send a signal, but this moment it dries and you take it off or whatever, everything is fine. But it's not the dog being electrocuted.
Right.
Excellent.
But that's the impression, right? That's what people envision when they hear e-collar. Or if we take a prong collar, do you know why it's designed the way it's designed?
It's not to stick them, it's,
No, I think
there's
it's
some
just
other reason, yeah.
Make it tight so it's uncomfortable so
Yeah.
you can release it.
It's
That's-
not negative,
the-
it's not
the
supposed to be
bite, right?
negative, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know why it looks like that?
I'm assuming
No.
because in the dog world, if a dog is stepping out of line, that simulates
A dog bite.
A dog
you are
bite.
correct. It's meant to mimic teeth. Okay? But you know how many times either clients walk in with a prong collar on their dog, or I talk to them about prong collar, and they're like, oh, the thing that's supposed to stab them, right? Or, because, again, you look at it,
It looks dangerous, yeah. it's
Yeah, but they're
scary.
rounded out.
but yeah, people don't, they don't
People
think
don't
that. The emotional kicks in. Is I tell them it's meant to mimic the dog bite, and they go, oh, that makes sense. I go, yeah. You know, but again, if you're ignorant to these things, you just go like, oh, he's barbaric. He uses these tools that stabs dog in the neck, or he's shocking them, right? And that's why we do consults to educate people, because you'd be surprised how often that does happen.
Here's how I look at it. Here's how I look at it. We have this new generation of kids behind me, 1, 2, 3 generations, and it's all this positive reinforcement. And the kids get sent to the corner for timeouts, and they laugh in your face. I'm sorry, but I think a little bit more than that is required
Yeah,
sometimes.
no, 100%. That's why it's gotten so bad. You know, I have a lot of clients that are teachers or were teachers, and they left the profession not because of the money, but because kids are so bad now.
My
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
like
sister's
their
a teacher,
job is
she
to
says that.
educate, but now they're having the job of having to discipline and educate, but then you can't even discipline.
Yeah,
Now
exactly.
you can't educate because now the kids don't listen.
Right.
Right,
uh-huh.
so
They
we
laugh
don't
at
wanna-
you.
And they're all fixated on their phones.
Yes. So my wife's mom is a teacher. It's her last year. She's going to retire. But she was like, yeah, like ever since 2020 as well, like it's been just like a steep decline in terms of the school system. But it's because there's no discipline.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you do try to discipline, then the parents get after you for disciplining.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's your
catch
fault the kid got a
22.
D on the
Yes.
report card. Change it. No, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
So, kind of same thing in the dog training world as well. So there's when I approach this, I tell everybody like, if dogs nip and bite each other and they nip and bite people, right? Then it's only fair that we can nip and bite them back,
Yeah.
right? And so like the Cesar Milan methodology, which I started my my career in dog training using him as my baseline. So how I established the structure here is Cesar Milan methodology. He didn't teach me to do it. I just really studied his work and internalized it, then I was able to replicate it. Okay. I use prong and e-collar because it's easier for the client.
Yep.
A large majority of the time, I don't need the tools. The client needs the tools.
For sure.
Right? Because if I, again, and we get dogs that are not trained here. They're not trained by us, they're not trained at period. And they
Yeah.
still fall in line.
Yeah.
Right? Because I understand dog behavior. So I train with remote collar, and sometimes I incorporate the prong collar. Okay? So any dog over 6 months that I train is going to be on an e-collar for sure. If a client goes, Jesse, I don't want you to use e-collar, I want to train this way, I go, nope, I'm not going to do that, but you can find another trainer who will. Okay? Because e-collar gives me the highest rate of success. Right off the bat, you get off-leash control. Okay. If I'm working with a behavioral case, if I'm working with an obedience case, if the client starts with on-leash training and then they want off-leash training, I got it all. Okay. It's the easiest tool to understand. If you look online, they make it seem too complicated. So then people come in, they're like, oh my, you know, even from other trainers, my timing was wrong, or you know, I didn't have it on the right setting, this and that, and they got to worry about the food and the dog and this and that. I'm like, none of that stuff matters. Okay. It's very simple. Humans make it complicated. Dogs are simple. Humans make it complicated. Okay.
Well, there's, some point in time where I would love to see none of my dogs I've ever, and you're going to look at this as a fault of mine, obviously, probably is. I could never trust that they wouldn't run away. They love squirrels or whatever, and I'm not going to take that risk. But man, you get a ball or something, this dog will watch it and she'll go flying and she nabs it. So I want to be able to take her off leash somewhere sometime in the future so that, we can play and stuff like that, because she's pretty talented with that kind of stuff,
Does she have prey drive? Like squirrels, rabbits, birds?
Yes.
With her, it's worse than with me. Some squirrels, I've had squirrels run, because once in a while I take her, because she needs a lot of exercise and I don't think a walk is enough, I take her on my bike and she runs next to me. And when she stops, we stop, but she really kind of controls the speed. And you'll get squirrels running around. 50% of the time she ignores squirrels with me, but the other 50% she most certainly does not.
Sure.
So yes,
She will always spot them. She goes into stealth mode. She drops about 3 inches and her head goes out. Like
yeah,
she's
she
stealth-
doesn't
yeah,
do
she's
that for
stealth.
me, but it does
And
happen.
she will do that. Birds, doesn't
Yeah, she
seem to
don't care
bother
about
her
birds,
so
yeah.
much anymore, but rabbits, forget about it.
Yep.
Squirrels, forget about it.
Yep.
Anything that's small and furry, forget about it. She's going after it. It's true. I mean, she's going after it. And I will try to catch her in advance. I will try to distract her. Like with treats, I always have treats in my pocket. And so I'll try to distract her and I'll make her sit and look at me, and then we shake and then we come forward a few steps, so that I'm trying to also, like, you're not getting rewarded because you went after the squirrel. I'm trying to bring you down and reward you a little bit because you're doing what I'm asking you to do, which is probably completely wrong, but right now it's the only tool that I have that works. So
And I would imagine Cesar Milan, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. I would imagine he probably uses tools like you do too.
No, so Cesar Milan is very, I call him like holistic,
Yeah,
because he's very much just energy leash dog.
okay.
But what you're describing is technically correct, because what a lot of people don't know is that he exercises dogs like 8 hours a day.
oh yeah,
Well, then they're tired all the time.
Yes.
once again,
But
wow,
it's holistic in the sense that he's just meeting their
needs.
Their needs,
Because
yes.
they're animals, they're meant to be hunting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're not meant for like, you're guaranteed 2 to 3 meals a day, whatever it is, you know? Like that's human
yeah, that's human.
factors stuff, right? But if the dog's not out hunting, they're not burning energy, so then, you know, it can lead to all these other behaviors.
Right, right,
But yeah,
right.
that's something, so he will, the only time if you watch a show, when you see him use e-collar and stuff, it's because the owners are already using the tool.
Oh, okay.
Very, very small percentage of dogs that he'll come in and go, I need this X
Yeah.
tool.
Yep.
Because he knows it, but for the most part, he always just comes in using what the client is already using.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to the e-collar training, the first thing we always teach is heel, which is walking on a leash. Because leash pulling and leash reactivity are the two most common things that I deal with, okay? Heel, class 1, we're already starting to address those problems, okay?
Okay.
A lot of trainers, if you look at their programs, they either don't cover heel or they teach heel at the very end,
Okay.
okay? And clients ask, like, why is that? And I go, because they don't know how to teach it, okay? Heel is applicable in the real world, you just have to know how to do it. Okay, so you're gonna bring her in and you're gonna pull up. Yep. Just
Oh,
bring
I'm
her in.
sorry. You told me to do that.
It's okay,
I'm
just
sorry.
Bring her in. Bring her in. Yep, and then pull up and then try to push down here on her hindquarters. That's my son. He's 4 months. He was 4 months yesterday. That's fine, and then you can relax. Okay. Is we always cover heel first if we're doing in person. Okay. So we have heel part 1. I give you your homework. You go off, rinse and repeat for a week. You come back week 2. You give me feedback. Hey Jesse, she seems calmer in the home. Pull up, and then lightly push down on the butt. A little bit more. Yep. Push, push, push. Push, push, push. Yeah. So she's resistant. There it is. Okay. You give me feedback. Let me know if there's any changes. So if I'm dealing with leash reactivity, sometimes the owners come back and go, Jesse, like 90% of the reactivity is gone. Or they'll go, 10% of the reactivity is gone. Depending on what they tell me, dictates how I approach class 2. Okay? Class 2, we work on the second part of heel, pull up and then press down. And then we make some adjustments. And then they go off, rinse, repeat for another week. They come back week 3. Give me more feedback. If they're still struggling with reactivity for whatever reason, we target the reactivity. Because the first 2 classes are meant to set a foundation. Yep, and then we'll bring and swing her butt in closer to you. There you go.
Oh, that was easier.
Good. The first
Sure.
2 classes are setting the foundation down, and then we see what does that fix. And then by class 3, we have a good idea of what's not being fixed and what has been fixed, so to speak. Okay. We make some adjustments. We might do controlled context, where we force the reactivity so I can work the owner through it. Because it can be stressful when you're out in life and like things are happening, right? So to be able to do it in a controlled context and not be judged helps them feel more relaxed.
Look,
That'll be $100.
trust me, we're broke already.
And then they come back class 4, we see how things are going, right? Very rarely does it take me up to the 3rd class to resolve the reactivity. Typically it's done within the first couple of classes, like on its own. But if it does take the 3rd class, that's typically where we get it. Every now and then I get a dog where it takes me like a few classes because it's so intense, okay? Almost always bully type power breeds when we have that kind of difficulty, okay? And I how do you say? I give the owner time because obedience is step by step. Behavior is not. Okay, so for example, I had a client, it took me up until the 5th class to finally resolve the reactivity because the dog was so intense. So when we got to class 4, I told her, we've already tried all the other stuff. So we're gonna come in heavy-handed and we're gonna just get this done. I go, you're gonna do this for 2 weeks. And then email me if you're having problems. There's no point in booking class 5 because I already gave you all the answers. Now we gotta figure out what we need to adjust.
Yep.
And then 2 weeks later, I saw her at the park for class 5 and she's like, Jesse, the reactivity is done. We ended up having to correct that dog on the highest powered collar at max power for every little thing before we finally cut the reactivity.
Wow.
Okay, and the dog was smaller than your dog.
I have a question. Okay, so on heel, it's my opinion, it's opinion. I know it's probably wrong. Okay, so if they're pulling, it probably, I think that it may be because I haven't given them enough exercise and the dog's losing its mind, because by the end of the walk, they almost always stop pulling because they're more tired out. So is it my fault that they're pulling? Or,
It's training.
okay,
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're tired or not. Heel means heel. Heel means walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop.
okay.
Like for me growing up, I was raised old school. Okay, I'm from Florida.
Okay.
Sometimes we'd have a
What
week,
part?
Jacksonville.
Okay.
We'd have a week of rain, right? And I was a kid. I would start to get, I want to
Antsy.
run out and play. My mom was like, you still can't misbehave in the house, or I'll spank you.
Yeah.
And as soon as the weather cleared up, she'd take me to the park, play baseball with my friends and stuff like that, and I got that energy out. But it was still expected that I behaved and followed the rules, despite the fact that I couldn't get out for a week.
Okay, I get it.
makes
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So
I know,
for
I
us,
understand.
It's the same.
Okay.
The issue is that people excuse a lot of behaviors, and it works against them. So like here, if a dog starts barking because they're stressed out because it's a new environment, I understand why they're barking.
Right,
It's still not allowed.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
we don't agree with that behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I make exceptions, I'm gonna have a kennel just like anybody else's kennel.
Yep.
And it's not because I'm being, as
Don't
you said,
you
mean.
growl at me.
It's because there's expectations. So you see here, does she growl at you?
No, I just wanted to warn her. She doesn't growl at me, but I just wanted to warn her not to.
There we go. So it's very step by step. To a degree, there's a structure in terms of the approach, but it's not so cookie cutter. Other than I know that the first classes have to be heel, and then after that, we just cover things as we go along. We cover recall, we cover stationary control, all that kind of stuff.
She'd be losing her mind at our house if these noises were at our house. To hear the sounds outside and everything.
Yeah. And that might be because my son's crying right now. Potentially.
But she's so much better. Yeah.
Because a baby crying sounds like
A little animal.
exactly, right? So you see how she's continuing to escalate? You're just keep doing what you're doing, okay? I know it can be annoying.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
So here, and we wouldn't pet her.
Don't pet her. Okay.
Pull up and press down. So earlier you were doing this when you had come back from checking at the door there. And I understand what you're trying to do because you're trying to console and relax, but you're reinforcing instead.
Okay.
Okay, so touch is a reinforcer, right? You're telling the dog, do what you're doing again, or I want you, the way you feel is how you should feel, is it technically what you're saying. Right now, she's inquisitive, right? She's whining, which is there's some anxiety there. She's starting to build frustration, right? She's starting to escalate, okay? So up and then push down. So if you were to touch her right now, I understand, up and down, is that you're trying to console or soothe.
It's gotten a lot easier.
But she's taking it as I should feel the way that I feel right now. That's the difference. Okay.
So just ignore all this.
Yes.
She's got to work through it, basically.
Right now, what you're doing is you're giving her direction. You're just saying relax, relax, relax. Right? Obviously without words, but in the motions that you're doing, you're telling her to relax.
Is there a way to teach her that we'll protect her and that she don't have to worry about any of these problems? What's that?
Through discipline.
Through discipline? I'll take care of everything, Aspen. Don't worry about it.
And you're correct.
You know.
But the dogs don't get a sense of security through like doting or cooing, right? Or being soft with them. They get it through leadership. Up and pull down, or push down. So when we talk about fixing that relationship, that's fine, is you have to disagree with her, right? But in a way that she respects. Currently she doesn't respect it, but that's what we have at the moment, right? I'm working with what we have, okay? But when we have a tool like a prong collar, we have a tool like a remote collar, I could disagree with that behavior because I could bite her for the action. Now going to the prong collar, because you guys mentioned you had put one on her before, this is why I talk about intensity. Where you're like, she was pulling and it did not phase her, whereas the previous dog, it did phase.
It did, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's the intensity, the driviness.
Yep.
Could care less.
Yep.
And that's why I do remote collar. I get a lot of dogs that they will override the prong collar, like German Shepherds too, because of the thickness of their coat. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
matted, right? In this case, it would be the dog's intensity. Is the e-collar with those 127 respective levels, if I have the correct collar, is more able to break through the intensity. Okay? Now, I have had about 5 dogs in 15 years that needed 2 e-collars. They were so intense. Almost all of them 130 to 150 pound dogs.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Well, so it's like medicine. You're heavier. You got to take more medicine. It's to get through your system.
A lot of them were bully breeds. Again, the intensity is what people don't account for, and it's a rare case, obviously, because that's 1 every 3 years that I've had. But these are things that I bring up to people because they don't understand that. They go into a thing like, oh, this is going to be all rainbows and fairies, and I go, nope, sometimes it's not. So
I have 2 questions.
Number
1, like when I bought that little orange thing, I was afraid it said, it could make them more aggressive. So when I used it the first time, I was real careful because, a dog might be like, I hate that, I'm going to tear it up. She was not like that. But I have seen that some people's concern with the e-collar, that if you do that might make them more like meaner.
it's a good question. 2 reasons. 1,
2 reasons it is false or it's true.
that it's a yes and no answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1, when people use e-collar themselves, they do it wrong.
Okay.
Because they tend to think of it as a punisher,
Okay.
as opposed to a communicator. So when,
Oh, as to it, listen up.
yes.
Okay.
So dogs, when you see a dog bite another dog, okay, most people could just label it aggression, up and down. That's communication, right? So let's take what happened with your neighbor's dog. I see that as communication. Do you know what the communication is?
I failed to communicate.
Get off my property.
There you go. There you go.
That's exactly
That
what,
was
get off my
communication.
property.
Okay. But it's seen as aggression. You see the difference?
pretty aggressive, yeah.
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 But she's a dog.
Yeah.
Right? So, the other reason is, so we have improper conditioning, people using it wrong, okay? The other thing is, if I have a dog that's super intense, okay? For example, the dog that I mentioned earlier was Georgia, okay? Her video's on my YouTube, I break it down. If you want to watch, it's like a 45-minute video, okay? We end up having to max power on the highest power collar there is to stop the behavior, okay? We did everything.
Can I tell her to stop that?
No, just ignore.
Okay.
She's got to work through
Yeah,
it, John.
up and down.
Okay.
And so by you doing this
And then
and her
rotate,
sitting there
yep.
whining is forcing her to work through it.
Yep. There you go. So her intensity, and then pull away, was so great because we did everything below 127 max power. Okay, we did that for up until the 4th week. And then on the 4th week, I said, okay, we're going to do the heavy-handed approach. And that's where we made progress. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So before that, she was looking worse because we weren't matching her yet.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what people would describe as makes the dog more aggressive.
So it's more the person's mistake.
Yes, you're annoying the dog. You're not very good. Okay. Yesterday with the Akita, the lady was trying to do the same thing that you're doing with Aspen here. Yep. And then pull away. And he turned around and nipped her on the thigh. Okay. And she's like, oh, by the way, yeah. You see this? So this isn't funny.
Oh, it's not fun. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Be careful. Now, so grab from top of the leash there as high as you can. That's fine. There you can do it. Rotate the butt towards you. Spin it around. Yep. And then push down and up. Yep. And then again, careful. Yep. Bring her in. Repeat. There you go. And then pull away. Yep. 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 Pull away.
Ooh, you're being bad, Aspen.
Okay. Just keep calm.
I'm
It's okay.
I'm not
Stay-
getting anywhere.
No, you're gonna get somewhere.
You will. It takes time.
Yes.
You just got to stay calm. There you go.
So
Stay
right
calm.
there, when you started laughing,
Yeah.
right? The reason why I said it's not funny
Okay.
is because she's trying to correct you for correcting her.
Oh.
Yes, yes, yes.
Ooh.
So when the dog bites the leash, and I don't know if you saw where she put her paws like this.
Yeah.
They're trying to take control back.
Okay.
Because the leash gives you control.
Okay.
So when they bite the leash and they pull, you see the paws go like this.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to take that control back. Okay. So then things always get worse before they get better. So going back, kind of a tangent off of that, it makes the behavior look worse. For Georgia, it would look worse going up until that 4th week. And then finally I said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And then it got better because the owner was following through with everything, right? Yep. There we go. So right now, when you took that minute to push through all that nonsense, okay, for the most part, her intensifying, kind of giving the worst she can, but if you would have stopped when you said, I'm not getting anywhere, she wins.
She would have won.
And now you've made more work for yourself, right? So that's why I was like, take the time, follow through, and eventually she's gonna go, okay, you're not gonna give me what I'm looking for, so I guess I'll start to submit, okay?
There is one more question I had. So you mentioned the intensity of these types of dogs. You know, assuming, you know, at the end of correcting the problems or whatever, is there somehow you can make an asset out of that intensity with some kind of like, you know, something that you might like? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you said she plays ball, right?
Yeah.
Harness it.
Okay, all right, good.
Harness it.
All right,
No,
that's
100%.
good news.
Like, I don't want to make a robot. Your dog is a dog, right? A lot of the things, like I said, like I understand, and I go, it's just part of being a dog. Like, it sucks that happened, but she was just doing what she was supposed to do, but the human world doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, I get it, okay.
Right? So like when I mentioned about like the Yorkie biting the ant, and I, you know, again, that was very unfortunate. We didn't like that. But I told him if your dog would have bit like burglar, you wouldn't have called me. And they're like, you're 100% right, Jesse. But the dog doesn't understand that difference between the ant and the burglar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So dogs are predators. They're meant, like my Chihuahua, when I lived in the South, would pick the baby squirrels fall out of the tree sometimes. And out the corner of my eye, I just see him go like this, right? And then this person, I can't remember if it was a man or a woman, was like, oh my God, your dog killed a squirrel. He's an animal. And I remember looking and going, oh, I felt bad. It was baby squirrel. But then I was like, he's a fucking dog. You know, it was crazy. Oh, your dog's an animal. I'm like, he's a predator. You know? Like, I don't like it either, but sorry.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, no, I take those things and I harness them. I go, oh, you like the ball, huh? Good. Well, I'm gonna make you work for it now. Okay. And now I have not only the reward of the ball, I have a structure to our play. So now it's just not crazy nonstop throwing the ball.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I can also practice my obedience, right? Because now the dog's gotta hold the sit, stay, or whatever, and I throw the ball, and she's like, let me have it, let me have it. I'm like, I'm gonna make you wait a little bit. Now, right? So now I can even improve my training because now the dog has impulse control. Okay.
And you tire her out.
Huh?
And you tire her out.
Wow, exactly.
With
Right?
all that
It's win-win
thinking.
all around.
She's probably not that focused on the ball yet. Like we'll play with the ball with her a little bit in the house, where she's more like, oh my God, give it to me, give it to me. It's food.
Okay, sure. And again, you can
food.
harness that too. And
All
let's say
kinds of food.
Chasing squirrels, right? I love going to the park and let my dogs chase squirrels. It's like the greatest thing to them, right? But when I recall them, they come back. And when I tell them not today, it's not today.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's all I care.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the training, were you guys looking to do like an in-person or like a board and train?
I am a believer that I need to understand and learn too.
Okay.
So in person.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm not lazy where, here, someone else take care of it. That ain't, I don't believe that's helping the problem.
Okay.
I'm
I agree.
part of the problem.
You are the problem.
You are the problem. I am the problem. Okay, so there you have it. Well, if I'm the problem, then I gotta be here.
Good. Excellent. So the reason why I bring that up
And her too.
is that you will learn more in an in-person program.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I'm hoping you've learned a lot and you walk away have learned a lot today.
Sure did.
It's hands-on for you. I rarely, if ever, touch the dog. I literally coach you through everything. Okay, so like when COVID hit, or before COVID, I used to show up to your home and then train the dog in front of you so you could see, give you the dog back, and then work you through it. But I would have already done a lot of the work. Okay, so there was a disconnect there. When COVID happened, nobody wanted me coming to their homes anymore. Nobody wanted me getting near the dog. Like social distance dog training. So then I created like a completely verbal instruction-based training where I don't even need to touch the dog. And it worked out so great. And we were training at the time at Oz Park, which is the busiest park in Chicago.
My buddy used to live right across the street from that place. It's a menace. I don't know how people find parking to meet you there.
Yeah, there's parking. It's just, you know, I always say to show up early.
Yeah.
But it's great because you're getting the results in the moment, right? If a dog is reactive, and you'll see if you watch George's video, we're at Oz Park. we have a session or two at my facility, but then we're at Oz Park, and if she flipped out, we were working through it real time. Okay. So for the human, it's nice because they get that experience. They do it themselves. Even like right now, how you took that time, you see how she's been more relaxed, right? Because you didn't let her win, right?
Yeah.
Like things like that, and they walk away going, okay, I can do this, as opposed to seeing me do it and then them trying to catch up to me.
Let me ask you a question. You asked me whether I was more for in-person or I'll just call it have you do it type thing. What do you think is better?
I always recommend in person.
Okay. All right, so we're both on the same page. I don't need an
So
explanation.
There's
Okay.
pros and cons.
Okay.
The board and train, I get more done in a short amount of time because we train all day, right? And then I'd have to just transfer the training over to you, right? But that would be the con, is I did all the training, so it's all tied to me, and then we had to transfer it. But our
And then you're not around when I'm trying to do it.
correct, but I make sure, because there's follow-ups, there's videos that you get. I want you to get transference. With the in-person, obviously it's you doing it all yourself. The con is it just takes longer. And I always remind people, we're going to be hitting winter fairly soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so people tend not to think about that kind of stuff.
I was just thinking about it.
They're like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to like walk my dog for 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day in the cold.
Oh, we're used to that with the Husky.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and we also want to make sure that the dog is tolerant. There's some dogs, I mean, I've seen dogs like her completely fine in the winter. Right?
Yeah.
But I've also seen dogs like her, like my pit, hates the winter.
Yeah.
My pit's from Texas. She's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So those are things that we also just want to take into account. We can still get stuff done. Usually what ends up happening is if I train dogs in the spring, summer, fall, is in the winter, people will see regression. Okay, or at least at the end of winter. Because once the snow starts to melt, people are outside with their dogs again. And now it's like everybody and their mom's outside with the dog, right? It's like, okay, I'm seeing my dog's behavior, but I didn't see it during the winter months. So there's usually some regression there, okay?
Well, and if you're training them during the winter at Oz Park, there are going to be less dogs
But we're
around
not
too.
at House Park anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so once it gets, so now I'm here. So
Oh,
depending
okay.
on the season, I train at Oz Park, weather permitting.
Okay.
What also people don't account for is that if I have 8 clients a day,
Mm-hmm.
I'm back to back. They're fine for that hour, but I'm there for 8 hours.
Yeah,
At
I get-
some point, no matter how much I bundle up, like it's gonna seep through.
Yeah.
I used to work in the boatyard when I was a lot younger. I'd go in with like double socks, Uggs, thermals, flannel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
pants,
oh, yeah,
overalls, And you're
yeah.
out there, and then 3 hours in, like you just feel the cold in your skin.
Yeah.
Just hand the boat.
Yeah.
So at this moment, I'm back at my facility training.
Okay, good.
Now you can still train. My training still transfers home because of the way that I teach. Okay, but what some clients like to do is they'll start the training, they'll get what they can, they'll take a break during the very cold winter months, and they come to springtime. Once I'm back at Oz Park, they'll finish up the rest of the program. Okay, so like things like that are also options. Because I get clients that the problem's so big, they go, we want to address this right away, but we also know that we're not going to be outside a whole ton because of the cold, so they'll just split up the program. Okay, so we do 3, 6, 9, and 12-week in-person programs once a week for an hour. At minimum, you'd be at 6. Okay. If you do 9 or 12, we're getting a more well-trained dog. Okay, so if you do 6, it's going to be 2 on heel, 1 on the behavioral stuff, like how to correct behavior and all that stuff. 1 on recall, because every dog should have a recall. 1 on stationary control, which is place command. That's that dog bed there. So if I tell a dog to not move, and if you look on our cameras up here, in the top right, you'll see like dogs on beds, right? So that's a part of our facility structure. Is most of the time you think of control outside the home,
Yeah.
you need control inside the home as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the 6th class would be like a variable. If there's something that you want to review, if there's something that maybe you didn't grasp 100% and you want to go over it again, right? I look at that 6th class as a variable if you're doing 6. If you're doing 9, we can cover more grounds in terms of obedience and or advance the obedience we do know to a higher level like off leash.
Can we convert to 9 if after the 3rd or 4th week we think, or you
You can
think
always
that
buy more classes, we just don't prorate.
we just don't?
We don't charge the difference. You would just, so if 3
Oh.
classes is more expensive than if you would have just done 9 up front,
Uh-huh.
that's what, so you pay the price of 6 and
Okay.
the price of 3.
So you don't go with the price for the 9-week program minus the 6-week program. It would be the 6-week program that you chose plus a 3-week program,
Correct.
which would be more
So
expensive.
if
Okay.
you do 9 or 12 up front, It's cheaper per class, but if people split it up, then it's more expensive. So like, for example, our board and trains. I have a dog right now. I trained her months ago for a 2-week board and train. They got another dog. That dog's doing a 3-week, but they wanted to advance the previous dog that I trained. So they bought another 2-week.
What about mixture board and train? I mean, she's going to make these decisions because I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. So what about a mixture of this training, whatever, 6 weeks, and we bring her here for a day or a couple days or whatever in board and train? Or what do you think?
It's a lot of times it's overkill.
Okay.
Like, so I've had it happen, and trust me, the best answer for me is to tell you yes, because I just go,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know if I did that, and then you go, holy shit, I just gave this guy $5,000, and I only needed X much of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I've had people go, well, I want to do a 2-week board and train, then I want to do a 9-week in person. I go, trust me, it's going to be overkill. Pick the one that you want, and then when we're done, and then if you want to add more training, then you would.
Okay.
I'm not, unless they want to advance the dog's training, I've not ever had anybody buy more classes to try to go back to review something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, once I get it done, like I'm telling you, you want an answer, like this is the problem that we have, and I'm telling you to fix the problem that you have, at minimum, I'm looking at 6 classes.
Okay.
But if you want your dog to be more well-trained, then you're doing 9 to 12 classes. Does that make sense?
And is 9 classes necessarily 9 weeks?
Yes.
Okay,
But not back to back. So like, let's say you do 9, and you say, hey, I want to fix these problems, and I'd like to have this dog to be off leash. Okay, and I go, that's doable with 9. We're just not going to cover all the commands. So there's sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. There's 6 commands. Heel and recall are the 2 most important, and some version of stay. Okay, I know we'll get that done within the 9 weeks. And I go, okay, we're not going to get sitting down or whatever, but I can at least take what you do know and advance that to an off-leash level. But if you're doing, let's say, 12 classes, then I go sit, stay, down, come, place, heel, all built to an off-leash level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the 12 weeks is what, $5,000?
No.
No?
No. 12 weeks off the top of my head is like $2,500 plus the cost of the collar, and our prices are on our website. The 4-week board and train is the one that's around $5,000.
But you don't seem to think that would be good for us, or have I read some, or did I read some response to you that's not accurate?
No, earlier we talked about it when you had asked, because I said, do you want to do board and train or in person? And then you said that you believe that because it's your dog and, training you and
Yeah, okay, so that's out. And you don't have any problem with me saying no to that? You don't think that's a mistake?
Well, actually, it's the other way around. It's me telling you no.
Oh, okay, so you don't think the board and train is good?
I think.
I just want to do the right thing by the animal, not what I think is right.
Yeah, sure. So
And you know what's right by the animal.
your dog could do either a board and train or an in-person.
Yeah.
Okay, my dog can do both.
I get clients that want board and trains,
And
and I tell them no, pull her in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I tell them no because I believe their dog is a dog that they themselves need to train.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would have both as an option, but the in-person
It's going to be better.
would be better.
We'll do the in-person.
Okay.
Okay, we'll knock that out right now.
I would suggest for the in-person is 6 classes. Okay.
Okay.
9 is a nice buffer if you're like, I want to fix this problem, but I'd also like to be able to have my dog be off leash. Okay. 12 is the person that goes, I want this dog fully off leash. I want all the commands, and I want this a problem addressed. Does that make sense?
And the 12 is like you said, 2,500?
It's on our website. It's around that price.
You got to give me some ballpark. I'm not really good with internet. I'm old, okay? And look,
And
these
we will
younger
send you
kids,
these prices, by the way.
they can find shit on the internet like this. I couldn't find my reflection off the monitor on the goddamn internet. I swear to God, I'm just that bad at it. So when you tell me look at the internet, I guarantee you, I won't know what you
Tina will send the prices because
Okay.
I email her what I recommend, and then she turns around and emails you and goes, this is what he recommended, here's the pricing.
So, but 12's around 2,500, a ballpark, and then how, a ballpark, I'm not holding you to it. Ballpark 6 is how much, and then ballpark 9 is how much? Ballpark.
6, I believe, is around 1,500. 9 would be around 2,000, and then
12 is around 2,500. Okay, next question, and once again, I'm not holding you to this. My mom used to watch the dogs, right? My mom died. So we've been here all year, mainly on account of my health, because I got really bad health, but it's a good thing because we've had her. But in January, we would like to go somewhere. We'll have to bring the dog with her. Now, it would be a dog-friendly hotel. Sometimes there's dogs in the promenade area. Most of the time, there's not. At most, they're all leashed. At most, it's not like a kennel where there's dogs all over. Some owners bring a dog. They might sit at the bar. It's not a big deal. If we train with you, will she be ready for that in mid-January?
It's a mixture of both. Is she ready and are you ready?
Well, I got to make myself ready. That's why I'm
That's what
here.
talking about. Like, so I know I can get it done. That's
Okay.
not ever the question. The question is, can the owner get it done? Because remember, I'm teaching you to train your dog.
With her, I can get it done because she'll be training me. I'm serious. I'm not really good. Look, I'm good at certain things. I'm not good at anything else. So I do the certain things that I'm good at, and I let someone else take care of the stuff that I'm a moron at. It's just that simple.
Okay.
So I'll do my best with this little animal, and she will instruct me.
Sure.
Okay.
You know, realistically speaking, there's always limitations. Okay. So for example, I had a client recently who was moving to New Jersey. This lady was like 70-something years old. Okay. And she went and bought or adopted a 70-ish pound Shar-Pei bulldog.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And we do the consult, and I tell her, I suggest pull away, push down, that you get a trainer in New Jersey, because you're going to be moving to New Jersey,
Right.
right? And she was only going to be here a few more months, and she wanted to do a board and train. Yep. Careful. Yep. Okay. Fire. Yep. Careful.
I'm going to be more stubborn than you, so you can just forget about it.
Excellent. But she wanted to move forward. You know, we did the board and train and everything. But I get cases where it's usually older people go and get dogs they shouldn't be getting.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a limitation. So one thing I always ask is like, we have to make sure that we are also, that's really what the hiccups that I come across.
Yeah.
Now relax. Good. It's like right now she's testing you. Like you see all this? Yep.
Stuff that goes on at home too.
Yep. You're doing
I'm
good.
stronger than
There
you
you go.
too, so you can forget about it. I'm going to win.
Good. And I don't, so the staring and the pointing I don't suggest.
Okay.
Because a dog could, you could escalate them to the point of wanting to
Bite my finger.
Yeah. Or face bites and stuff like that. So like
Okay.
right now when you're doing it, I'm observing. Just because I see.
And
dog
you're
with
seeing a
agitation,
tendency for her to might maybe want to do that.
You know, so it happens. But again, this is the stuff that I know that you don't know.
Okay.
That you learned with it in person. I would suggest if you know you have plans to travel, again, it's the environment, then I would suggest at that point, probably 9 is more where you want to be. Okay? 12 obviously is like, you're in a.
Well, I've
you're
already
really well.
dispensed with the 6. And it's either going to be, I think, and I'll discuss
Yeah,
things
you
with
guys
her.
talk about it.
I'm not going to
We'll
go bare minimum and then be jerking myself around and having, it doesn't make any sense. I want the dog, I want to have a good relationship with the dog. I don't want to have to worry about the dog. I've had enough headache. I got enough headaches in my life. And I want to be able to play outside with her. So it would be, it would be at least a 9.
So then, like, let's say we have like 7 or so classes, everything's looking good, okay? Is I usually, if I know the client is their goal is for off leash, is then tell them to space out 8 and 9. So you might have class 7, I go, okay, we've covered everything that we wanted. I also gave you the foundation for already building towards that off leash. Come back when you're ready. You know, and it might be a couple of months before I see you for class 8.
That's a good
because
idea, yeah.
Everything in the beginning is step by step, okay? But then once we need off leash, you need to go to the park, need to have your dog off leash, so to speak, and rehearse, right? You need experiences. And then you come back, a month later, 2 months later, and you go, hey, Jesse, everything's great, but we struggle with this part. And I go, okay, here's how we fix it. And then you go off and you rinse and repeat. And you come back when you're ready for class 9. Almost always the last class for an off leash intended client is I want to have my dog off leash for the first time, but I want you to be there just in case.
Just in case, yeah, for sure.
That's usually how that stuff works out.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the client just does all of them back to back because that's what they want. And I go, that's completely fine. But I've learned, in 15 years of training dogs that beginning is very step by step. It's very, you make progress. And then the last bit is like, now I need time to tie up.
Get it sunk in.
Exactly.
So we could do like, because it's going to depend on, you're going to see whether she's doing good. We could do like 6 weeks before we split or whatever, then maybe do a week or two here or there. And then by that time, Oz Park's open. You want to go there and maybe spend the last 3 times there or something of that nature. That would be acceptable?
Correct.
Okay.
And I always give it as an option. Like I tell people, like this is the point where I suggest you save those classes and come back when you're ready. Do keep in mind if you do that, it is your responsibility to reach out when you're ready.
I get it.
We've had clients, come back and like, I want my money back. You never followed up with me. And we're like, we never said we would. Like we said, come back when you're ready.
Do they expire in what, a year?
They don't, as long as you don't just fall off the map.
Okay.
Okay. We've had it happen where people just stop responding. We're emailing, we're following up like, hey, you're holding a time slot on Jesse's calendar.
I'm not a guy who doesn't respond.
And then they come back and they're like, oh, sorry, and we're like, you held a time spot and we had to push.
That's not, I saw that on the reviews. That's not me. If you send me an email, you will get a response.
Yeah.
If only to say that I got your email and I don't know what's going on. I am not an unresponsive guy, not by any stretch.
All we care is that we have communication and
Okay.
we know what's going on so that my calendar can be adjusted accordingly.
And the training is us and you, right? It's not, it's not other people in a group, or it's not people that you employ here. It's us and you.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. All right.
So Tina will follow up with you. Oh, show me what the collar
Yeah.
you're looking at. Chances are it's probably not going to be the one.
Probably not, but it don't hurt by asking.
Oh, I see. So this is a Doctra unit, which is good. I mean, I use Doctra. So the reason why I would not use this system.
You can, that's just a picture, Jesse. I can get you to the website so you can read up about it. That's just a picture.
Probably familiar with it.
Okay, a snapshot off of it.
What are you doing?
Oh, there you go.
I see.
Nope.
I'm going to say no, and this is why. I have 5 collars that I use, and I've used them except for one because it's a newer model, for 15 years.
And they always work.
And I know which collar goes to which dog. I don't know that collar, and my concern would be you purchase the collar, and it ends up not being the correct one for your dog, and then you have to go and spend another few $100s.
So you're going to give us 5, and do I pick the one that I want?
There's one collar, so there's only 5 that I use.
Okay.
But for your specific case, the collar that I would recommend is the Doctra Black Edition. Okay.
What's it called?
Black Edition, Doctra.
Oh, so it's the same brand?
Yeah, same brand. So I love the brand. It's just that particular model I've never worked with, and because I've not worked with it, so the difference is each collar has a different output. Think of it as low, medium high, and high. Okay. If I put a low-powered collar on your dog,
She's going to ignore it.
yeah. Okay. So, and this happens a lot in the dog training world where the trainer will give the client, like I had a client consult a few weeks ago. It's a 180-pound Tibetan Mastiff,
Oh, my God.
already trained with e-collar. And I met the guy, and he paid for me to go to Evanston, by the way, because he was so scared of coming to Oz Park for the consult. So he paid me $600 extra on top of my $235 fee to go to Evanston for the consultation. I get out my car, I see him walking up the block. His dog sees me and drags him, and the guy's like 6 foot something. He's a big guy. Drags him all the way towards me, and the guy's like trying to put the brakes on like this, it's like a cartoon. And I'm looking at the equipment, and I'm like, oh, well, this is part of the reason why you're having a problem. I said, the collar you have is meant for a 35-pound dog and under.
Okay.
You have a 180-pound dog. So that's why with the collars, we have to put the appropriate one for the dog.
Is there a better quality one that this Black Edition?
That is the best collar, in my opinion, that they have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if there was a better one, I don't want to cut corners over
It is-
30 bucks. Just tell me the better one.
No, that's why I'm saying don't do that one.
It's
Get
the same
Black
price as
Edition.
the other one. That's fine.
The Black Edition is meant for a Rottie. It's meant for a 70-plus pound dog.
Okay.
Because I'm accounting for your dog's intensity. I don't know how that collar is going to work. Dogtra also has collars that are marked as high-powered, and I can tell you for a fact that they're not high-powered because I've had dogs override them. I actually had a little spat with one of their sales reps this past week because I had to place an order, and he's like, "Oh, just buy this collar. It's the same thing. It's cheaper." And I go, "No, I want the black edition collar." He's like, "Oh," but it's like, "Why?" He's like, "You'll save money when this and that." I go, "Right." I was like, "But it's not the same output." He's like, "I got the guy that helps make these collars. He's telling me that it's the same output." I'm like, "Well, I'm telling him he's wrong." And I was like, "I've been training." I'm like, "You guys aren't dog trainers. You're you're engineer guys. Yes, on the thing it may look like whatever intensity, but I'm telling you, after training thousands of dogs with your collars, you're incorrect." Okay?
Do we have to be concerned, like I'm guessing this thing's made in China? Do we have to be concerned?
Korea. I just found out.
Well, that's better than China. China's really bad. Have you seen any problems where well, it says this and no, it's made in China and it's not really this? Can we buy? Is there a brand that is maybe more reliable that we can actually depend on more than this collar that you would approve of?
In my opinion.
Okay, I can have it in 2-3 days.
I've used other models, and I stopped using them many years ago.
Okay.
Dogtra has been consistent. You know, it is an electronic tool, so like things can be faulty. You do get a warranty. I believe it's a 1-year warranty that covers anything that's faulty to the collar, anything that's caused through damage, wear and tear. If they have to repair it, they'll charge you a fee. The most common thing that I see is that the batteries do give out because it's a rechargeable lithium battery, much like your cell phone.
Yeah.
You can buy the battery yourself and replace it. It's like $20, or I can replace it for you for $35. That's the most common thing that I see. My first e-collars that I had lasted me 10 years. Okay. And then I had to replace them to get new ones. So they do last a very long time.
Okay.
So the Dogtra Black Edition is the one, and Tino again will send you the information. We do sell them. If you buy them from us, we do have a 10% off promotion going on right now.
Have her send me that information too.
You'll get all that, and then if you buy it from us, and if for whatever reason it's a faulty collar within those first 30 days, you give it to me, I give you a new one.
And you take care of it.
You know, when people get them off of Amazon and stuff, one, they get sent the wrong collar a lot of times. Two, if they end up having to return it for faulty reasons, now they're having to take a gap in their training, and they're not accounting for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I tell everybody, if you're gonna buy the collar from somebody else, at least get it from the manufacturer. Don't do Amazon, don't do Chewy, because they've been sending the wrong collars, plus faulty units being checked out, being sold or whatever.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, when will we hear from Tina?
So I gotta email her. You can also, if you want to be proactive, and say, "Hey Tina, we want to sign up. We want 9 or whatever." If you want the price breakdown, just wait for her email. It is first come first serve. So the moment you submit your contract and everything, she knows you're serious, and then she'll start getting you ready to get on the calendar.
Okay, yeah, I already got her, because there was a fluke with the time. We were supposed to be 11 or 10 o'clock, and then she sent me an invitation for 11 o'clock, so I had to get back to her. So I already know who she is.
Okay. Tina's my mom, by the way.
Tina's your
Mom.
Oh, okay, all right.
A little family business. I got my aunt works here. My mom's my sister.
Ain't nothing like working for yourself. The headaches ain't any easier. They're just different, but it's still better than working for someone else.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now assuming best case scenario, I get all this kind of stuff or whatever. What would be the soonest that we could start with you?
I would say sometime next week.
Okay.
Right now, so it's kind of weird during the seasons.
I don't care. Anytime within the next 2 weeks would be fine. Don't worry about it. It's
We
fine.
got booked up with boarding trains like overnight within like 3 days because I only take 4 at a time. That got booked up.
Okay.
We're already booking into mid to November and early December for boarding trains, but for in-persons, that's kind of slowed down. So like in the summer season, in-persons,
yeah.
it's like the reverse, you know? So you're coming in a good time. So I don't see why Tina wouldn't get you on the calendar sooner rather than later.
Will we experience any shortage in the result of training from coming here rather than going to Oz Park where she would have all these distractions?
The way that I train, it's like I mentioned earlier.
It's transferable, is what you
It's
said.
transferable, but I teach you how to adapt.
Okay.
So think of it this way. If we're training here and your dog's number is 25, okay, we're inside, nothing's going on. So what does that tell me about outside?
You got to go up
Yeah.
because there's
It's
distractions.
just common sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that I train is very logic based, it's very common sense based, and you'll start to find yourself just going up on the collar as needed.
Okay.
It just comes down to what is she going to need for that particular moment to override any intensity. The one thing that's going to give you the most difficulty is her intensity.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else,
Yeah.
the obedience stuff is easy. It's the breed that you have and the intensity that it brings with it.
Okay.
Okay, that's where you're
I guess what I'm trying to convey is, look, all right, she's here now. You put a little black, or she hates black dogs. I don't know what it is. You put a little black or white dog here. She's not behaving like this. And while my wife and I were able to get her to do this, we can forget about it if there was a little black dog right there.
Black dog. And we do like that, and that's also a benefit of having the training here, right?
Okay,
Is
I see.
go, oh, do we have a black dog today? Bring it out.
Okay.
And then we can force the problem, and I work you through it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, I'm not worried about it transference. I'm not worried about anything. I tell my clients, because they worry, right? Because they're like, oh, is this normal? And I'm like, well, you have an aggressive dog. So, like, no, it's not normal, but it's normal for the aggressive dog. As I go, you worry when you see me worried. When I'm worried, then you should worry.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You don't seem to be too concerned. I'm sorry, little Aspen. You don't seem to be too concerned about this dog. I mean, there's some issues because it's just her genetics, but you don't seem to be too upset.
No.
No.
I mean, this is my niche has been behavior. I got into dog training for dogs like Aspen.
Okay.
And that's how I built my career. I can do obedience, I can do puppy training, I can do all that stuff. But I'm here because of dogs like her.
Okay.
Whereas trainers do easy dogs, and they'll take a dog like her because it's money.
Yeah.
That's the
We
difference.
see, and that's a kind of like some of the stuff, I'm reading, like I call the vet and stuff, because, you're an emotional wreck after something happens. And, and they sent me this behavioral person and this behavioral person. I'm looking at the stuff, and I'm not exactly understanding why it's not right, but I look at it, and I'm like, this is kind of a person who teaches a dog maybe to sit down or not steal your spaghetti off the counter. Ours is a little bit worse than this problem. I think we need someone. We're treating this, as Nada said, we're treating this as a rehabilitation, not some don't steal my sandwich.
Sure. So to give you an idea, like I had a client from St. Charles.
Oh, way out there, yeah.
Their vet had put their dog on gabapentin, fluoxetine, triazidone, so 3 drugs.
Yeah.
And during the consult, the dog was still trying to attack me. And the client asked, she's like, do you think the drugs are doing anything? I'm like, well, does it look like they're doing anything? And she just laughed and she's like, no. I'm like, yeah, they don't.
One last thing, because I see you keep looking at the clock. One last thing. Okay, so she's been rejected by everyone to cut her nails, okay? What we do is we do it now. I get a block and I get sandpaper and I do one at a time. I'd like to get her with the rotary thing. We even got the pet one that's, it's a Dremel, but it's really quiet because my Dremel is a construction one. But at any rate, so we're able to control it, but they're still a little long, but we do it all the time. But, oh shit, God damn it, what the hell was I gonna say?
Talking about the nails.
The nails in there, yeah, but there was some point that went along with.
I think he's trying to ask if we can get to a point that.
No,
doesn't
that
give
wasn't
us a
it. I'm
hard
sure
time
we'll
when
be
we
able to do
nails.
that. I can't remember.
So the answer.
No. So they rejected, no one else will do them anymore. And we're able to, but yeah, I mean, we have to get it to a situation where, well, actually, forget that question. Never mind. Forget about it. I think I just answered it myself. Forget about it.
If you would like her to be easier to have her nails done, what have you, like if she fights and stuff, I actually just did it with a client like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Dog was super easy, but a pain when he tried to do it himself. But I taught him how to do it. And it was super easy. The more stuff that there is accomplished, like you want to accomplish, it just means longer program. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So. Could we get it done in 9 classes? Probably, but then we might be short a class for like the off-leash stuff or whatever.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I get
What I
it.
recommend is that if you're cutting your dog's nails and they get a little snappy and stuff, is muzzle conditioning, and then muzzling the dog because it makes it easier when you're trying to do their nails. Because people tend to think like, oh, my dog's never bitten me, and I tell them like, well, it doesn't mean it never will.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
exactly.
So if trimming her nails is a concern and you're able to do it, or if you want it to be easier, I can help you. It usually just takes class, but the one tool that we will need is a muzzle if a dog becomes aggressive or defensive, because I just simply don't want you to get bit.
Yeah, I get it.
So the client that I had, he had his dog muzzled. The dog was the easiest dog once we got, because we had already done training. And I told him, every time you trim this dog's nails, you will still always muzzle, even though it was perfectly fine. I'm like, because it doesn't mean that in 3 years your dog goes, you know what, today is the day that I'm just tired of this. Okay, so, anything else?
Don't bite.
No. That, I believe I've asked you enough questions.
So Tina will get in contact with you. She'll send you the recommendations and the price breakdowns. And then, of course, the collar we recommend.
For the 6, 9, the 12, the collar, I already know the collar you recommend, your price for it or whatever, time horizons, all that kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's the black. It's the Dog Tracks Black.
Yep.
Black edition.
She's stubborn.
A little pain in the ass is what she is. We're gonna make this success for our way out of here so this man doesn't think we're an idiot. Come on, sit down.
She kept coming over. I always have snacks in my pocket, so she kept coming over
Oh,
trying
for
to
the
get.
snacks.
Yeah, she trains with food really well. I don't believe that you should have to use food. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you know,
It's not wrong, it's just not,
it's
Did you
not-
see that? Yeah, she just, yeah, just a little bit of
It's
a.
not ideal, but you work with the tools that you have.
correct.
So that's what I've been doing.
When I was food only, because there was a time where I was food only even for aggression cases, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then I learned about e-collar, slip
Yeah.
chain, prong collar, gentle leader, like I have all these tools now.
Yeah.
But yeah, food's a great tool at a certain point, but when it comes to like stopping things, that's where it kind of goes out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're getting kicked out.
All right, guys.
So we'll hear from
You
Tina.
should be.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I will grab your mics as well.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. Anything that you may have forgotten to ask, you can email Tina. Okay. She will relay them.